All right, fans of music, welcome back. It is Dave, the Real Music Observer, observing real music in real time for real people just like you right there, and yours truly right here. Lindsey Buckingham versus Stevie Nicks. We've had this conversation before, but the truth is this. When both Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks embarked on solo careers, Stevie Nicks had already built a persona within Fleetwood Mac. Lindsey Buckingham definitely had a persona, but not this mystical, enchanting, spinning around and doing all of these witchcrafty kind of things that Stevie Nicks did, the way she dressed and all this lacy stuff, and she developed her own character, and that went a long way, especially with female fans, but also with guys too, to kind of just solidify her place as, you know, a rock and roll goddess, small g, of course. Buckingham always had this reputation as this sort of genius behind the scenes, pulling the strings, pushing the levers, and so forth. But when you look at his solo material, his output of material, and the quality of that solo music, you have to wonder if maybe Buckingham was kind of a tortured soul because of the whole thing with Stevie. And maybe that didn't fuel his creative side once, you know, they were both out of Fleetwood Mac and doing solo material. Stevie Nicks' Belladonna will always be one of the great rock albums of the 1980s. And in fact, it might have been better than any Fleetwood Mac album of the 1980s, although you can argue that Tango in the Night is a very strong record, but it depends on, you know, the style of music that you like. Stevie had glommed on to the whole Jimmy Iovine, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers sound, Stop Dragging My Heart Around. That was really just a Heartbreaker song with Stevie singing, as you all probably know. But Stevie loved that sound, and her album glistened. It had this freshness to it. And throughout the 1980s, she tended to reinvent herself. I think at one point she even employed Rupert Hine, the guy who produced The Fix, I think on one of her albums. And I think that was, The Other Side of the Mirror or something like that. I can't remember all the album titles. 10 years ago would have been easy. It's not as easy as it used to be. But Stevie had a succession of very strong music, so much so that a Greatest Hits album eventually came out. Now, a Lindsey Buckingham Greatest Hits album would be a tough thing. I mean, you'd have trouble. You might throw Go Insane on there. There's a tune called Countdown that came later, like 92 or so, I think. Holiday Road from National Lampoon's Vacation movie. However, that's really just that's really reaching, and that's kind of it for the best of Lindsey. And the guy who produced all of this fantastic music, it didn't always translate to his own music, and the resentment that he seemed to have for his other bandmates at times, and especially Stevie Nicks, who it seemed for years she was like in his shadow when it came to, like, you know, hearing music and hearing what was good. Lindsey was always correcting her, and you might even say at times he was belittling her, but I think he thought he was coaching her or helping her become a better musician, a better singer, and so forth. I don't know if that's the case. I think it's like two stars going different directions, and Stevie's star is bigger, and Lindsey not so much. And this is why I think in the year 2018, and with the passing of Tom Petty, I think Stevie said, look, I'd rather hang out with Mike Campbell, and it's a known quantity for Stevie. Mike and her go way back, and that relationship obviously has been there the whole time, and probably in Stevie's mind, if the band finally decided to say, we've had enough of Lindsey Buckingham, which he said they lost perspective. I'm not sure what that really means in any context. I've read all the articles, and I still don't understand what he's talking about. They didn't lose perspective. They changed perspective. They wanted to live peacefully amongst one another. And I think that's why this upcoming tour, and I think Irv Azoff probably played in this as well. He is a guy who seems to like to replace longtime members with multiple members. The Eagles did it with Glenn Frey. They got Deacon, and they got Vince Gill. You know, and it seems to be a model that has worked in the Irv Azoff scene. Journey has a keyboard player, right, that you don't know about, but he's in the band. And this is what these bands do when they hit a certain age or a certain part of their career. They regroup and they hope that the legacy fans will stay. And I think the legacy fans are going to stay, and possibly some curiosity fans will pop in to see the new and improved Fleetwood Mac. For the Real Music Observer, that's me. I'm Dave. I'll be back with more Real Observation coming up real soon, so stay tuned.